welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony. Good to see you, Eric.
Hey, good to be with you, Bob. Ray's still under the weather, and so hopefully next time he'll be with us. This is being brought to you by the good graces of EVT Educational Productions, Zoom, and Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and we're taping the Wednesday before our Monday air. So there are a lot of stuff that will be in the news when we air, and preeminently among them, I'm sure, is either the continuation of the jury seating for the George Floyd trial, or possibly the trial might be underway because as of today, Bob, I think they had at least 4 jurors. I know there were 3 seated yesterday. Have you seen anything about additional jurors being seated?
I haven't seen any updates, but when you told me that 3 had been seated already, that came as a surprise because I was expecting this to be a glacial process, knowing the attention and the care that both attorneys will take in picking the jurors. But apparently they've got some. At least I'm glad to see the process going.
Yeah. I was quite surprised that they had already seated 3. I know there'd been a delay because they were trying to reinstate a 3rd-degree murder charge on that. And my reading today, there was still up in the air. People were saying a possible addition for the 3rd-degree murder charge is still in the works.
Right, and I haven't seen an update as of at the moment that we're taping right now.
Yeah, the legal scholars and the lawyers know pretty much why that 3rd-degree charge is crucial. I think it's better for the prosecution because I believe they don't have to prove intent and they can get some kind of murder conviction with the 3rd degree there. But I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that is the actual reason for them wanting that 3rd-degree murder charge instead.
But that always worries me when I hear about a lower charge being included into the list of charges being pondered, because that it hints that they're worried about their ability to prosecute this case, and they need something at the bottom so that they don't come up empty. Hopefully, they'll do better than that with a case like this, but we'll see where that goes.
You're right. The odds are not always in the favor of the families of the victims of these police killings because jurors in this country tend to give policemen the benefit of the doubt. And even with video on display, it is a rare instance that a policeman is convicted of any charges pertaining to murder, manslaughter, 1st degree, 2nd degree, or 3rd-degree murder. So,
or even injury in the case of Kenosha, even the paralyzing of Mr. Flake, and not even that. The local district attorney there didn't even bring charges on the cop who fired 7 times. So you're right. It's hard. Even getting a charge, much less a conviction.
Yeah, the fact that everybody walked away from that Kenosha incident, man being shot in the back and paralyzed probably for life, is just another example of how the criminal justice system seems to work differently for Black people as opposed to for white people. Like, for instance, speaking of the criminal justice system, Merrick Garland evidently was confirmed this afternoon. Bob, you have a byline or anything on that?
Yes, the story I was glancing at, but yeah, as of today, Wednesday, Merrick Garland was nominated for the Supreme Court by Barack Obama in 2015, and Mitch McConnell of leading the Senate refused to even give him a hearing to confirm his nomination, saying that it was too late in the presidential term. But I want to go into what Mitch McConnell today, but today, Merrick Garland was confirmed by the Senate for the post of Attorney General by a vote of 70-30. I didn't look to see who voted against him, but yeah, it ends. He's been ready for public service on a White House national scale for a long time, and he got cheated out of his last opportunity. And this is my own opinion, I'm very happy to see this come to pass. And it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm quite glad to see that. And one of the reasons is because in his confirmation hearings, he stated point blank that making sure those folks who invaded and assaulted the Capitol would be one of his highest, if not his highest priority, to make sure justice was brought to bear on them and their actions. And so as the new head of the Justice Department, because we couldn't say that any other preceding attorney general in the last 4 years was head of the Justice Department, because all they did was the bidding of the guy in the White House. So I do believe Biden's going to keep his promise about keeping hands off the Justice Department, keeping that wall that had existed prior to Donald Trump, that actually was put up after Richard Nixon did all the craziness he did way back umpteen years ago. That's when they walled off the Justice Department from the executive office, even though it comes under the executive office. So that was good news. But along those lines, since we're on justice and justice departments and stuff, I noticed that there was an announcement over the weekend about the district attorney in Georgia, one of those prosecutors that are looking into the Donald Trump attempt at purloining votes, hired 2 racketeering experts to head her team looking into that case. Did you see that?
I saw a little of that. And yeah, going back to when Donald Trump made that call to Secretary of State Raffensperger, looking for 11,000 and some odd votes and he said it out loud, we need 11,000, I think 780 votes.
11,781.
Yeah, I mean, it was blatant attempt to get, the vote flipped. Yes. manually if necessary, to get him that state. And yes, now we have the local, is it the Attorney General or the local district attorney?
The local DA
for Fulton County?
Yeah, it's either it's a district attorney, or it's not a U.S. attorney. So I believe it's a district attorney.
And it's not the state AG?
No, it's not the state AG at all. But the state AG is going to be a definite witness in that case.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Now that I remember who that is. Yes. But yeah, the fact that he's brought in these racketeering type investigators.
It's a female. Female head DA that's leading.
Oh, I know who you mean then. I can't pull her name out of my head. I know exactly who you mean. Yep. But that's good to see. And that's something that she's not going to relent on. She's deadly serious about going after Trump on this charge.
She's
yeah. And
speaking of your boy Raffensperger, okay, because we might as well segue to that, because one of the issues that we've always covered on Media Watch that most mainstream media folks tend to ignore, but they can't any longer, is voter suppression. And Georgia is now leading the charge of all those 253 bills that are streaking across state legislatures around the country to curtail the right of people to vote, primarily because most of the last elections swung Democratic as opposed to Republicans where they expected it. And so the Georgia state legislature and the entire Georgia Republican Party, Raffensperger included, seem to be backing these laws.
I'm looking at the Vox story on that, and you're right. According to the Brennan Center for Justice, state lawmakers filed, quote, 253 bills with provisions that restrict voting access, unquote, in just the first 7 weeks of 2021.
Across the country.
Yes, yes, across the country, with more likely to come in the future. And just as you said, bless you, these bills include longtime staples of conservative anti-voting legislation. Georgia Republicans, for example, appear keen to restrict or even eliminate voting on Sundays in that state. Why target Sunday? I'm continuing to read the story. The most likely explanation is that Black churches frequently hold, quote, souls to the polls voter turnout drives on Sundays leading up to the election. So eliminating Sunday voting makes it less likely that Black Democrats will cast a ballot. And, you know, like you said, Eric, I thought we'd been through this.
But we haven't, Bob. Here's the deal. It is so egregious. Jimmy Carter over the weekend came out and made a public statement excoriating the Georgia Republicans for going through these shenanigans, changing the voting rights and voting laws in the state of Georgia, just because they want to curtail voter turnout, especially Black, brown, Latino, young, all the people who actually flipped Georgia from red to blue in the last election. That's why Raffensperger, your buddy, who said, and I'm paraphrasing, Georgia's election was the best run, one of the most efficient, one of the least likely for any fraudulent occurrences to occur. It's a model for the nation. That's basically a paraphrase of his statement. And I didn't hear him saying, oh no, we shouldn't be changing these laws. He is peep silent, not one peep came out of his mouth on this initiative.
And he was, like you said, Eric, he was at least temporarily being held up as a paragon of common decency as he fended off Trump's attempt to flip those votes. And now he's playing the role of the good Republican again.
Yes, he's playing the Republican card, the Republican voter suppression card. And it's been, actually, enough people have come right out and said the Republican Party has decided they cannot win an election properly, legally, by appealing to voters on the merits of their positions. And so now they're trying their best to curtail people's access to vote, period.
And isn't that what was said basically in the recent Supreme Court hearing?
The Colorado case before the Supreme Court, you're more up on that. Bring our viewers up to date on that.
Well, I was trying to find the name. I was trying to find the name of the person who actually was speaking to the court at that moment.
The lawyer for the RNC of the state of Colorado. He was before the Supreme Court, what, a week and a half ago?
Yes.
And you're better at paraphrasing what he said. You might be able to call up the quote, Bob.
Well, I'll do that while I'm sitting here. But I believe of all judges, I think it was the new one, Amy Coney Barrett, who was questioning him, and she asked what is your real issue with this? And the answer was basically, it works. It doesn't work to the benefit of the Republicans. It works against us. It works against the needs of the RNC. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said. It doesn't work for us. Not that it was a bad law or bad, this or that. It doesn't. It puts us as a disadvantage.
We want it stricken because it puts us at a disadvantage. And he actually said something to the effect, politics is a zero-sum game.
Yes.
This was all about politics. It wasn't about voter rights or fraudulent voting or anything. It's just, oh no, we don't want these people to have access to the polls this way because we're going to come out on the losing end. That was it in a nutshell. Yes. And they said that out loud to the justices of the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't understand this, man. It's just bizarre. But
I think I can.
Go ahead.
I might have the quote here, but I don't want to delay us while I hunt this up.
No, not to worry. We're basically giving the viewers a good example of
Yes.
exactly what they said. But that whole Georgia thing and this whole voter suppression, it is the story that needs to be covered. And another aspect of it that's worth noting is there's a brand new video that LeBron James has back with his whatever political action group he has that produces these various on-air videos. They came out with one dealing with just that, and it ran prior to All-Star Game weekend, but it wasn't a weekend because it was just one day. It may have run in the All-Star Game broadcast telecast, and it may not, but it's already been airing, and it's basically alerting folks to the fact that these 253 laws are being passed across the country in state legislatures to prevent people from voting. And the gist of LeBron's video, which he narrates, by the way, is this is what we can do when we rise up, do what needs to be done, register and vote. And they have seen what we can do, and they're now trying to stop what we can do. But it's never about just one vote. It's about the vote or something to that effect. It's a very effective video. But
I'm just looking at the NBC News story on that video, and you're right. That was you paraphrased them pretty well. This is LeBron James quote. They saw what we're capable of, and they fear it. James said of the Get Out the Vote effort among Black voters in Georgia. Yes, that's he's saying, the video is just showcasing what can happen
and
when
what
people actually vote,
despite what they're trying to do.
Yes,
because they are pushing these voter suppression laws. Georgia is leading the way. I mean, there's some draconian measures in that Georgia bill. I didn't dig into it deep enough, but I believe the only guy who didn't walk lockstep with the Republicans was one of the leaders of one of their voting houses, House or Senate, I'm not sure, but he just did not want to preside over the chamber when they were trying to run that law through, which I found an honorable thing for a politician to actually do. It's to stand against his party when he knows they're doing something that's not in the best interest of democracy. So
I'm always surprised when I see a little moment of common decency like that come out.
yeah,
It's not frequent, and it's not often enough.
Like Ratzenberger was when he was
Yes.
standing up to Trump a couple months ago. Yeah.
Exactly. These momentary illuminating moments, which seem like they fade fast.
Yeah, and then he went back under the rock. So, but speaking of judiciary and stories pertaining to the courts, there's one that we as media people need to make note of. You may have it handy, Bob, the one about the Des Moines Register reporter.
I'll try to fish it up. I believe I have it up. I'll bring it up if I have it handy.
Yeah, the background is during the Black Lives Matter demonstrations in Iowa, I guess in the Des Moines area last summer, this reporter for the Des Moines Register, I believe her last name was Shaouri,
Andrea Sahori, Sahouri, Sahouri, Sahori.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, give our viewers a quick overview on that story. That's a crucial story for journalists and journalistic freedom.
Yes. I mean, she was covering a George Floyd protest in 2020, and among other reporters covering the same thing. And she was actually arrested on the site on the spot, and her boyfriend at the time, for failure to disperse and interference with official acts. Police claimed she remained in the area of the May 31st Des Moines protest despite orders to leave, and tried to pull away when a Des Moines police officer pepper sprayed her and tried to arrest her.
Bottom line is she was covering
today, as we take this.
Her paper. She was covering the demonstration.
Yes.
And the
She was
cops
covering a
began to charge,
story for the Register.
and she just said, "I'm pressed. I do not." And they said, "That's not what we asked you." And they proceeded to arrest her. And because her boyfriend was there trying to help make sure she didn't get hurt in the middle of this kind of coverage, they arrested him too. So what was the outcome, Bob? Was a 3-day trial, right?
Yes, I'm seeing if I can share it right now, and I think it's oh, okay, it is coming up. Yes, as of today, Wednesday, she was acquitted. She was acquitted of both charges of failure to disperse and interference, and so was her boyfriend, former boyfriend at this point.
It's not coming up. Okay, there it is.
Yes, and yeah, the video is stalling, but that's not what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a slow connection, unfortunately. Let me
So
try to
the prosecutor of that
just that.
was actually pushing the fact that he didn't care whether she was a journalist or not. Because she was supposedly ordered to disperse, she should have just followed the policeman's orders and dispersed. And that's not her job to disperse from a scene of, as long as she's not interfering with what they were doing, she had every right as a journalist to be there covering that story. And that's not what that prosecutor was intent on trying to have the defense prove.
Right. I'm astounded that the prosecutor went ahead with this. Usually when a reporter gets arrested on the spot, a smart prosecutor knows enough to, even dismiss the ticket if it comes to that, and not go ahead with this. But in this case, the prosecutor decided, the page just failed on me, decided to go ahead with it. And this is just a reporter doing her job.
That's exactly right. I know the story and the outcome has been trumpeted across a bunch of press platforms as a win for press freedom. And I'm saying to myself, we should not need to be trumpeting this as a win for press freedom, because she should have never been arrested in the first place. And the fact that we've gotten to that state in the United States of America means this country is not only falling down on the job for the First Amendment, Second Amendment, whatever amendments, they need to actually learn to interpret the Second Amendment properly, but they certainly aren't defending and protecting the First Amendment properly. So as working journalists, we need to definitely publicize this story and this outcome all over the place.
I have a number of colleagues who cover this, who've been covering marches and the protests, and a lot of times you get on the margins between the police trying to maintain crowd control and do other things. But if you're just there covering the event and you're not harming anything, if you're not vandalizing anything, there's literally no point in trying to waylay a journalist doing her job. But this is
we've seen
rather idiotic case, if you ask me.
But you realize that within the last, not just 4 years, but when Rudy Giuliani was mayor of the city of New York, he gave the police the green light to start corralling reporters in fenced off areas so they could not cover their stories properly. You remember those days?
I absolutely remember those days.
Yeah, and so that's been what's been going on in the United States of America for a long time about press freedom and our ability to do our jobs. And they weren't putting those people on trial, but they were corralling them in pens so they couldn't roam free and do what they needed to do properly.
Just so people understand, this means like if you're covering an outdoor event, you as a member of the public can walk around and view the event from any angle you want.
You have
if you're identified as press,
you have a press pass just to allow you to do that.
Yes, but under that administration, you were put into a limited area. It was like stand there, and that was where you stood.
Crazy.
And God help you if you tried to leave the pen.
Yes, and so from those days onwards, That's been the new mentality of authorities in police departments and in city government. All of a sudden, oh no, I don't care if you've got a press pass. If we say stay there, you stay there. That totally obviates, dispenses with the press pass privilege.
And as we move into this era of citizen journalism and freelance journalism, which is what two of us, are up to at this moment, there are no press passes. They're just people legitimately covering stories for their outlets or for whatever. And it's gotten even worse for them. Those of us who don't have the full-time card-carrying press jobs anymore.
Correct. But you know what? The whole bit about a free society and your ability to move freely is that, yes, you do have the right to take out your cell phone and record whatever is happening on a public street, if it's a public event. You invade people's privacy, but if there's a public event that's taking place, you can photograph that.
If you're out in the open air, you can shoot it. You can tape it. You can video it. There's a difference between shooting something out in the open and shooting inside somebody's window. That's invasion of privacy.
That's good. That's right. You can't walk through somebody's door unless you got a press pass. You can't just walk in with your cell phone and say, "Oh, I want to be in here." So
right. And we have about a minute and a little bit more left.
Oh, okay. And I got about 8 seconds left on my battery. So yeah, maybe it'll probably last about a minute.
Okay, that's perfect. That's what we have.
The only other story
from system UI server.
Yeah,
Low battery.
we actually have one of the stories to mention that we're going to dig into some more, and that's the fact that there is a phenomenal rise in hate crimes against Asians across this country.
A disgusting rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans. Yes, we can deal with that, unfortunately, on another show.
Yeah. We're making note of it, folks, because it has gotten to the point where it's, what's that phrase? Out of control. That's about where it is these days. So there were a couple of other stories I wanted to touch on, like the crazy white guy who was sending threatening letters suggesting he's going to hang these Jewish and Black legislators. And he only got a slap on the wrist prior, but after the Capitol riots, they finally arrested him. And now he's in jail and he's asking to get out. The judge says, no, you're not getting let out.
Okay.
But he was white.
But we're about out.
So this has been Media Watch, folks. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony. Catch up to us on Twitter and YouTube at Media Watch EVT.